right, we're up to lesson 22 in Music Basics. Now, when you were looking through sheet music, after you went through the Pick a Song, Any Song lesson, you may have found some chords that we haven't covered yet. By this point now, you have 36 basic chords, 12 major chords, 12 minor chords, and 12 seventh chords. And you've also got dreamy and dramatic, the augmented chord and the diminished chord, which, as you see, can be built on any note. So you've got several different diminished chords and several different augmented chords that you can use. But what if you see some really wild-looking chords? Like what if you see something, well, I'll tell you what, let me put up some examples on the screen here of some unusual chord symbols that you might encounter when you're reading sheet music. And then I will explain to you what to do when you encounter something like that. With the 36 chords that you've learned, 12 major, 12 minor, and 12 seventh, and the augmented and diminished chords, you can play any song in any key. So in case you're wondering why I had you learn all the basic chords, this will enable you to play in any key. You don't want to be limited to the number of keys you can play. Now, what about these fancy chords that you might run across? Maybe you've seen some of these as you've been looking through different sheet music that to find songs that you want to play. And so what if you want to play a jazzier tune, like a standard or something that contains more complex chords? Well, let's take a look at this song again, White as Snow. And while this isn't a jazz tune, of course, it does have some chords that we have not yet encountered. Take a look, for example, at the first chord that you see there in the introduction, A minor 7. Well, we haven't looked at that yet, have we? But here's what you can do. You can learn all these fancy chords, of course, and that's we'll get to that much later, and it can be done. But right now, I'm going to give you a temporary solution to simplify these chords. You can turn any fancy chord or a chord that we have not yet encountered into a major or minor 3-note chord, and here's how you do it. When you encounter and I'll put the word in quotes, a fancy chord, make it a major chord, except those that have the lowercase m in the chord symbol. So, notice that first chord has a lowercase m in the chord symbol, so that would be A minor, just A minor. Don't worry about the 7. So A minor 7, you can just play this. Now, notice the second chord is called B flat 2. Don't worry about what that means right now. Notice that there is not a little m, so it can be played strictly as B flat. Don't worry about the 2. And then you'll notice in the next measure there, bar 3, you have E flat 2. That can just simply be played as E flat. And then you'll notice the last chord of that measure is E flat major 7. Now we'll learn about major 7th chords later on, but you can just play that strictly as an, there's a little M in there, but there's also an A and a J after it too. So just play E flat. Now the last chord, this is what we call a slash chord. It means you're playing B flat over C. Don't worry about the C, just play B flat. And so the introduction would sound like this, and I'm going to use some chord inversions here to make it easier. See? You don't have to worry about all those other chords. Now let's take a look at an old standard. This is a song called The Best Things in Life Are Free, and I'm just going to put up the first few lines of this now. We're back to using a lead sheet here, and you'll notice it starts out pretty easy. You've got C major and a bunch of whole notes, rather half notes in the melody, but then you come to this C major 7 thing. Well, do the same thing here. Is there a little M after the C just by itself? No. So we just play C. And then what's this G13? Just play G. Don't worry about the 13. And then we come back to a C major 7. You go to the second line, another C major 7. Then notice the next part where it says life are free. You've got E minor 7. Well, you can just play E minor because there's a little m after the E, lowercase m. Don't worry about the number. Just play E minor and then E flat minor and then D minor. And then we do know G7, so you can just play that one as written. You go to the next line, D minor 7, you can just play D minor. In fact, that D minor keeps going all the way to the end of the measure. And then G, you can just play a G there. And so on. And then next line, you got G9, that can just be G or G7, and so on. Now, I'm going to show you the last line of the song. It gets really crazy. The best things in life are free. Right there where you can see a first and second ending. D minor 7 can be played as just D minor. G7 SUS, you can just play G7, take out the SUS. Another G7, don't worry about the flat 9. And then C6 9, just play C. A7, you don't have to worry about the sharp 5 flat 9 thing. You can play C, A7, D, G, and then it goes back to the beginning. Now, later on, you may want to learn what some of these fancy chords sound like because it'll really spice it up. But we're not going to worry about that right now. We're just dealing with the basic chords. So that's how you can simplify these things down to what you already know. And that'll set the stage for you to further increase your chord vocabulary. But remember, every chord you learn from this point on is based on one of the basic chords. And so that's one of the neat things about how this is put together. You've got the foundation, and now we will continue to build on that foundation.